Welcome to Coaching in Session,
where limits end and growth begins.
Hosted by Michael Rearden.
This is your space to challenge the ordinary,
unlock your potential,
and step boldly into your next chapter.
Your mindset journey continues.
Welcome, Tammy Garcia to Coaching in Session. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Michael. Thanks so much for having me.
Of course. Today we're going to be talking about your work. You are a holistic nutritionist and you are a lifestyle strategist, and all of that's going to be explained in a moment. But it is all talking about or dealing with the aspect of health. And today I know we're going to be talking about the health in many different aspects, whether it be our physical health or our mental health. And I can just see people in our world today struggling with both. So if you are a person who is struggling with either, this is going to be the conversation for you. Now, Tammy, if you could, can you tell the world in your own words who you are, what you do, and of course, how you help?
Yeah. So, Michael, I've been interested in health and wellness for probably 23 years. I just saw early on that the medical model had a lot of let's just say just a lot of products for answers. If you go to see a doctor, there was a pattern that I detected long ago. Just get a little prescription, they hand it to you, and off you go to fill your prescription, and that is supposed to solve all of your health issues. But what I started to learn pretty early on was that they weren't solving my problems. And they weren't solving my problems for my family, and they weren't solving my problems for my kids. So I decided I had to take personal responsibility for my family's health, for my health. And I started diving in. I started learning about the body. I started, taking classes, attending seminars, doing certifications, everything that I could to learn about how to curate health for my family. And what I learned was that it really came down to lifestyle. It wasn't 97% of all disease is actually lifestyle related. So it's only a very small percentage of disease that comes strictly from genetics. And so that's great news. That's great news because most people think I'm doomed to my genetics. My grandma had Alzheimer's. My great grandma had Alzheimer's. I'm going to get Alzheimer's. Not necessarily. See, what happens is there's something called epigenetics, and epigenetics are impacted by lifestyle choices. So if we can impact our lifestyle, we can impact our health outcomes. This was great news for me. I dove in. I started learning about nutrition, started learning about movement, stress management, and also the power of your thinking. So all of these things together is what I use to coach and teach my community, naturally inspired community, through to optimum health. And now has never been a better time because people, over the last 6 years, we've been through it, haven't we, with COVID and everything else. And so there's a natural questioning going on in the health, in the allopathic medical model. And so people are looking for alternative ways to be healthy and to curate health. And I'm here for it.
I like the aspect of looking at the last 5, maybe 10 years of one's life, and we can see firsthand if we have been doing well with our health and our fitness and our mindset, or are there going to be areas of improvement? Now, people love to throw skeletons in the closet or keep them there, and they like to sweep things under the rug or throw things in the corner. And I'm just asking myself, if you know there's a problem, why not seek a solution? Why do you think so many people, especially here in America, refuse to look at alternative methods for better health or fitness or even mindset?
That's a great question. And it actually starts from 0 to 7 years old. Michael, we are conditioned to societal standards from 0 to 7 years old. Nobody hands us a manual when we're born and tells us, read this. This is how you become human. We adapt to our environment. And so everyone around us is being taught, you go to the doctor when you don't feel good. So you wait, you sit around and you wait and you live your life and you eat everything and you enjoy everything. And then when you don't feel good, you go to the doctor. That's the wrong approach. The right approach, and we need a paradigm shift in our country, especially in thinking that we should always be living in prevention. So, the new frontier of health, in my vision and my community's vision, is that when we're born, we have a basic understanding of, hey, lifestyle really matters. You have this specific genome. And so with these genetics, you need to eat this way. Because we can tell a lot by genetics in terms of, if you have, they're called SNPs, SNPs in our genome, and that makes you more vulnerable to things. So one familiar thing that everyone's probably familiar with is the so-called breast cancer gene. Okay. The truth about the breast cancer gene is that 50% of women who have the breast cancer gene go on to get breast cancer and 50% don't. So what is impacting the results here? Lifestyle. That's what's impacting. It's your lifestyle, it's your exposure, it's your environment. So, if we knew what we had when we were born, then we could actually tailor our lifestyle moving forward to support the shortcomings in our genome that make us vulnerable to different diseases, like the breast cancer gene. If you have the breast cancer gene, there should be a lot of white button mushrooms in your diet. There should be a mindful approach to cosmetics and to personal care items, making sure they're clean, that they don't have phthalates and toxicity in them. Because, hey, I know I have this vulnerability, so I'm going to live and tailor my life to it. Keeping your detox pathways open. We're not given this information. Instead, we have I don't call it a healthcare system. I call it a disease management system, because that's what it is. They wait for people to get sick, and then they throw petrochemicals at them, which is pharmaceutical products. And petrochemicals are just a little bit of poison. They do not treat root cause of disease in the body. They only handle symptoms. The allopathic model will say, what are your symptoms? Well, my model is totally different. I teach people that every symptom that you have is actually a signal. Your body is so awesome. It is so capable. And when we get symptoms, all it's doing is communicating with you. It's signaling to you, hey, we need to change some things here. And it'll do its darndest to communicate with you, even when you don't listen. So, a lot of people get sore muscles. I get a sore back. Oh, my back hurts. My back hurts. That's the body communicating to you. Okay, there's too much burden here. Our biomechanics need changing. We may have to deal with some inflammation. What kind of fuel are we putting in the body so that we can reduce inflammation? That's the communication. It's not trying to ruin your day. It's not trying to ruin your life, not trying to keep you from doing anything. What it's doing is it's trying to signal to you, listen, we got some danger here. The same thing when we get a fever or we feel nauseous, the body will signal. And that's all a defense mechanism to get you back to homeostasis. So when we have a fever, what does the allopathic model teach us to do? Put it out, cover it up. But in fact, the body needs the fever in order to return back to homeostasis. So it's just a little bit of a paradigm shift that we're really in need of here in America.
I start to look at if we are going to really get down to the root cause and we look at 0 to 7, our children, it's going to be up to the parents to really help them through this and to develop that mindset, because we live in a world of Happy Meals and chicken nuggets and hot dogs, and kids love it. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't allow them to eat those foods. I'm just saying in moderation, of course, right? To give them real food as well, so they can learn to say, okay, this is what I should be eating. And then this can be a treat for me or a pleasure on the weekend or something along those lines. It just becomes our whole diet. And it's easy for us to develop a bad diet because it's convenient. There's a McDonald's or a Burger King or a Taco Bell on every other corner. We don't have to worry about being hungry. And many people, the moment they get that cue of hunger, they just want the quickest, nearest thing. They don't want to get into the kitchen or go to Whole Foods or any grocery store at that and to buy real food and say, I'm going to prepare this. And this is not even the conversation of, do you even know how to prepare food? Some people don't even know how to cook. And that's just another aspect to the problem. But what I'm seeing is that even if we do the work to help our kids understand that they can be healthy, it's going to probably be more on the parents to say, hey, I'm living that lifestyle too, because we all know that kids don't learn from what we tell them, they learn from what they see as the example. So if parents are not wanting to jump on board as well, then we're just going to habitually go through that pattern. So you're right, it is a paradigm shift that society has to make. It's not just, all right, well, society is doomed on the parent end, on the adult end. Let's focus on the kids. Let's get them good. Because it's just going to be that hamster wheel of problems coming again and again. And I couldn't agree with you more on the pharmaceutical aspect, that people are taking drugs or prescriptions to mask the problem. And I'll give you a story. When I was 20 something, I forget, 21, it's like 23. I got hurt when I was training for some 5Ks. It's like I pulled a hamstring and I said, yeah, I'm young, right? I'm young. I'll be fine. I still kept on running my race. And what had happened was I started to develop sciatica, and it was real bad. Like literally, I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't do sit-ups. I couldn't even walk down the hallway. I was a teacher at the time. And I remember just before I left the house, I'll put a couple of Aleve, the extra strength ones.
Yeah.
So I had them just in case I needed them. So I'll take one in the morning, and I might have needed one later toward the end of the day or in the evenings, just so because the pain was unbearable. Like I couldn't even move my leg. And I remember one morning I walked through the door, and it's a long hallway to my classroom. And I said, I'm 23 or, whatever age I was. I was like, am I going to be living this my whole entire life? I said, I can't. All right. Like, I'm too young to just say, this is my life. And I know there's some people who say, oh, I'm 30, I'm 40, this is my life.
Yeah.
And I'm over here circling people who are 25 in bad shape. So it's the mindset of, do you want to change? And it wasn't until I said, I need to do something about it, where I said, okay, let's figure out solutions for the sciatica problem. I went to chiropractors, I went to therapists and all this stuff. And it wasn't until I did something that my brother recommended, just try Bikram yoga, hot yoga. And I was like, okay, let's see what it does. It was the fix. Now, let me tell you, the journey was not easy. It was painful, but I just kept this idea that I could recover, that I could get better. And I think the illness with many of the people is that they just feel stuck in their illness. They feel stuck in their genetics. As you said, my mom has Alzheimer's. My dad has, this and dementia. They have cancer in their cells or whatever, diabetes. And you almost feel as if, well, I guess this is my future as well. And I'm here to say, why not create your own future? Why are so many people stuck in, I'm going to live like my parents rather than be the parent that I want to be for my kids?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So much, so much good things you said there. I want to go back to the family. First of all, you're right. Family has a culture. So you are, as a parent, you are shaping the culture of your family for your children. So like in my case, my kids were pretty young when I kind of woke up about health. They were 2 and, 16 months or something like that, or 6 months rather. So it was easy for me to start, shaping our culture of our family. So yeah, my kids didn't grow up eating McDonald's, and they didn't grow up eating hot dogs, not the good hot dogs, from time to time, but not the, yucky hot dogs that are full of Lord knows what. But, when they went to a birthday party or something, there's a line there, because food is very social, and it can be interpreted as being rude when you don't eat at other people's parties because the food is not really stuff that you agree with, right? It's a difficult thing because it's so social, and it's used as a celebratory thing too. So it presents issues. But my kids always participated in those things, but what I found is they actually didn't like it. So they would take a bite here and there, and it wasn't their palate. They weren't used to it. So they never overate on it or never became obsessed with it. They never even liked pop, actually, because it was just too sweet comparatively to what they were drinking at home. And so starting young is great. Now, how do you make a shift when people are older and you have those neural pathways built? I call them food stories. So, and here's a quick example of a food story that I've had to work with with my community members about. Is she felt really deprived when she would go to the movies and not be able to indulge in movie theater popcorn and snacks and pop and everything at the theater. And we really, we had to drill this out, because I'm like, well, why? She's just kind of angry about it and feeling quite sad that she wasn't able to do that, partake in those snacks. So when we really started talking it out, what we discovered is that she had this food story tied to the movie theater. And it was that her parents divorced when she was quite young. Dad used to take her to the movie theaters on the weekends, and one of her treats and time spent with Dad was being able to get whatever she wanted at the concessions. And so this is the type of neural pathway that gets built in our brains, and it becomes a pleasure pathway. And when we have to deny it, it feels very like, I shouldn't have to do that. It feels very hurtful. And so what we did is we kind of talked that through and we cleared it, like that. Oh, that's what's happening. But here's the thing. If you're eating like that and sabotaging your whole week's worth on the weekend because you want to go to the movies and do this, you're actually not caring for yourself. That was your dad's way of caring for you at the time, but you're now responsible for caring for yourself. And that's not caring for yourself. What would be a different way to care for yourself? And we came up with a plan for her to take her own snacks in. So it's not that she doesn't eat and enjoy and have the treat of being at the movie theater. It's just a simple shift to something that's not going to destroy her whole week's efforts. So that's food stories. And that's kind of what gets built from our family culture. So you're right. When society kind of starts supporting a healthier culture, then that'll trickle into the family as well. And then I want to say this about what you were talking about with identifying with your label of disease. So, I mean, everybody, if you watch TV any time at all, and I know not very many people watch TV anymore, but that's where you see these pharmaceutical commercials, right? Is on the TV. And, they'll tell you flat out this disease and, causes, vomiting, and then they just rattle off just a laundry list of side effects. But if you notice, they are coming up with new diseases all the time. And so we have to look at the medical model right now, and I'm hopeful for the future, but right now we have to look at the medical model much like a sales model. We have to look at it like as if we were going in to service our car or buy a car when we go in to service our body, because essentially that's what's happening. So through my podcast, Naturally Inspired, I've interviewed hundreds and hundreds of doctors over the years. And many of them came into medicine because they wanted to help people, and once they got into medicine, they realized 9-minute office visits, most of their protocols, they didn't really, they weren't able to practice medicine anymore. See, medicine is actually an art. And you practice the medical arts. But with the corporatized model of health that we have in our country, physicians are no longer able to practice health. They don't practice the medical arts anymore. Protocols come from top down, from insurance companies and from hospital systems. So they don't have free agency anymore to say, hey, let's try some of this lifestyle stuff, right? If a patient presents in a certain fashion, there's a protocol to be treated for that. And doctors nowadays, their job is to hand over that protocol, which includes a pharmaceutical. So obviously, products get made and they get matched with diagnoses. And unfortunately, then because we're so desperate to feel better, right? The allopathic model is a very predatory model. And I'm not, emergency medicine is wonderful. Emergency medicine is wonderful. I'm not talking about emergency medicine here, save you from a heart attack, save you from a car accident. Absolutely wonderful. But when it comes to chronic illness, this healthcare system is completely broken. In fact, it doesn't even have the tools to help people heal. And nobody heals you. Only your body heals. Our job is to create the right environment and the right circumstances for the body to heal. So this culture of like, it's a product that will solve your problem has created these attachments to diagnoses. It makes us very desperate. I just want to know what's going on with me. I just want to know what's going on with me. I need the diagnosis so I can get the pill so I can solve my problem. But that whole system is a lie. It doesn't solve your problem. It covers up signaling, which is communication coming from your body, and it will inevitably lead to more symptoms because you're not getting to root cause. So like, for example, many people that start on a blood pressure medication, right? They're told, oh, it's salt. It's this, it's that. You've got too much salt. Go on a blood pressure medication. We'll get your blood pressure down. Well, it's artificially creating a number. Your body is not healing when you take blood pressure medication. It's modulating to the medication. So if you go off the medication, blood pressure goes back up, right? That's not a long-term solution because guess what happens? If you take data from health insurance companies, it's a short period later, if you go on a blood pressure medication, that you're going to need a water pill. Why is that? Because the medication is actually impacting your kidneys and you start to pool water. So it's not, it's what I call kick the can down the road, Michael. It's like you go to a doctor, you're kicking the can down the road. And sometimes we need blood pressure medication because the blood pressure is so high, we've got to get it under control. But what we need to be doing at the same time is understanding what high blood pressure truly is. What it truly is. And it's often linked to something called insulin resistance. And insulin resistance is a direct result of the standard American diet. The standard American diet is fast fuel. It's the chicken McNuggets. It's the burgers. It's the sandwiches. It's the burritos. Very high carbohydrate diet. And when we ingest carbohydrates, it automatically turns into glucose. And when we have too much glucose, your pancreas secretes insulin. Insulin is the magic key that opens up your cell to get the food into the cell to convert it into ATP energy. And when we have too much glucose chronically over time, the cells actually become insulin resistant, meaning your insulin, when it's secreted, no longer functions to help the fuel get into the cell. So that glucose get into the cell to create energy. So many people are overweight and fatigued. And you think, why am I so fatigued? I'm eating, I've got fuel coming in. It's not getting into the cell. So it's metabolic dysfunction. And that is the root cause, Michael, of all disease, metabolic dysfunction. In America, when we think of metabolism, we automatically think weight. That's because we've had such an obesity epidemic, which I could go on and on about that diet culture too. But we have such an epidemic of obesity that is what people think. Metabolism equals weight. It's so much more than that. Metabolic health is, simply put, how good is your body at when you put food into it? How good is the response to turn that food into fuel and create energy in your body, which makes you feel vital and living and alive and have lots of, drive to do things. So it's the main thing, right? Metabolic health is the main thing, because if we're feeling fatigued and tired and run down, guess what suffers? Quality of life. And the only reason everybody's all concerned about health is because of quality of life. We all want better quality of life. So what happens is we get these labels and we think these diagnoses is going to be the answer because we'll be able to take these pharmaceuticals and then finally we'll be over this. But it becomes part of our identity. So then instead of being Tammy or Michael, we start owning these diagnoses, right? So now it's, my anxiety, my Alzheimer's, my cancer, my thyroid disease, my hypothyroidism. And that sets off a whole nother, neural pathway of thinking, which is this is now part of me. And it's not. The body was designed to heal. It may be a temporary state that you're in, but I believe there's always a road back. There's always a road back to better quality of life. So we have to let these labels or diagnosis start to become our identity. We have to, like you did, I got to keep looking, right? I got to keep looking. Maybe it's not this. Maybe it's Bikram yoga, though. Like maybe it's this other thing. But when we get a diagnosis, people tend to turn inward and they think, well, I'm destined to take these pills. This is what's happened to me. Diabetes is one of my favorites, type 2 diabetes, because most allopathic doctors will say, nope, you got type 2 diabetes now. This is what you got to do. And I've helped many, many people walk that back. And they don't no longer have those symptoms or have to take specific medications that they had to take before, and it's just a very broken model that we have with our health. And it's very taboo because you can't challenge the model or it leads to censorship online. So it's really, one conversation at a time like we're having right now. And hopefully people stumble upon this conversation and they step into the hope that your body was designed to heal and that you're perfectly capable of healing. But you got to understand how your body works.
I like the idea of you are capable of healing, because when we give ourselves a mindset of something is finite, where it can't be done, as an example, I'll always be this way, nothing is going to change, right? It stops us from even giving some level of thought or action toward the change that we need or that it will be necessary. So I find this to be one-sided, and sometimes people just get on that one-sided conversation as well. I remember a story, and you might be familiar with the story of Dan Millman. He was a gymnast who was in a motorcycle accident, and this had nothing to do with his diet. This had something to do with what the doctor had told him. The doctor had told him that, Dan, you'll always be using a cane to walk. You are not going to be able to walk. And if you are lucky to walk, you'll hobble, and you'll be lucky that you can do that. Well, he had a dream to be a gold medalist in the Olympics. Well, he had to forsake what his coaches were telling him, forsake what the doctors were telling him. And he had to listen to his self, his dream, his passion to want that dream of his to become real. And he worked hard to recover. It wasn't easy.
Yeah.
It was challenging for him. He struggled, but he was able to succeed in the end. And everyone looked at him like, wow, like, I can't believe you proved me wrong. But this is the culture now. Many people will say that you can't do something, and everyone else is like, oh, since you told me I can't do it, I guess I shouldn't do it, or I'm not able to do it. So they believe that this is their reality. Then again, we are living a lot of people's other circumstances or their dreams versus our own. And I just think of, I go to the gym, and in the gym, sometimes I see people who are like 60, 70 years old, and my parents are around that age. They look better than my parents. I'm not ashamed to say it, right? And I just ask, what is your secret? They go, well, we eat healthy, we're active, we do everything that we're supposed to do. And I'm just thinking, well, what are you supposed to be doing? Everything that the world is telling you to do, we don't do. So they're So they're just
do
living
the opposite.
Yes. So they're just living according to their own means.
Yeah.
They have developed something, typically it's a couple, that is the lifestyle aspect. We want to live this way because I have known people who were 84 that can outpace someone who's 35. And you have to ask, why is this happening so readily? And it's the aspect of the lifestyle choice that they decided to make versus other people are making. Because everyone could say, oh, I have a sedate job. I work in a cubicle. I'm too tired to go to the gym. There's no time to go to the gym. They have all of these excuses rather than look for solutions. And I understand that our world and our mindset today is fixated on quick fixes, on immediate gratification. They don't want to work hard for something that's going to bring them long-term benefits. Going to the gym is not easy. It's like very challenging, like especially like if you're overweight, you're going to go, you're going to huff and puff, you're going to feel as if you're having a heart attack, and your brain is over here saying, "Hey, crazy, what are you doing? Stop it. Stop it. I want you to live. I want you to have an easy life. I want you to be comfortable." But this comfortable is what's killing so many people today. We think that if we can just give our life a Netflix series on a sofa every evening and DoorDash delivery, then we are successful. But we can fast forward our life, or we can maybe even see our parents, if we are so fortunate to have them, or maybe just a mentor that's maybe a little bit ahead of us. And we can look at their life and say, is this what I want for myself? Do I want to have this? I worked in a nursing home. Is this what I want for myself later on? And you can just start to put yourself into perspective of what could be your life if you keep going down this path. Many people, they get so stuck in their routine and they don't necessarily look at the circumstances, whether it be smoking or alcohol or eating fast food. People don't look at the long-term ramifications of doing that until they have a trauma, until they have a hiccup. And my father was one of them. He was like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna drink and I'm gonna do this," and boom, stroke, right? And then even today, he's still doing the wrong thing. And even though I'm telling him, I'm like, "What are you doing? You have this second chance, you have this opportunity." He's like, "Well, I'm using it, I'm taking it." And I'm like, "You're doing everything opposite of what you're trying to think that you're doing, right? You're over here making excuses rather than commit to it." So a lot of people now, I'm sure, are thinking more in this lifestyle aspect. I can change my lifestyle. I can change the foods I eat. How do I do that? Do I go to Google? Do I go to ChatGPT? Say, what should I eat instead of all of this bad food? And we know that they can try, they can start, and they're going to just find themselves right back to where it was. It's like New Year's resolutions. They give themselves this will, this determination.
Yeah.
They start strong, but then they slowly start to fade away. How can we keep people consistent if they're looking to change their lifestyle, what they're eating, and then the longevity of their entire life?
Oh gosh, yeah, so many good points you bring up there. So, I say this a lot. People have an expectation problem. If you woke up every morning and you knew that the actions you took that day were definitely going to result in the result that you desire, you'd jump out of bed, you'd get it done, and you'd just be so excited to do it, right? But see, what happens is we build our expectations from our memories. So we build it from the history. And if we've tried something and it didn't work, like you would not believe, Michael, everybody I'd sit down and chat with in my health assessments, I've tried everything. Is that true? Of course, we know it's not true, right? But there is a memory, and the memory is creating an expectation that it's not going to work. And when we have an expectation that it's not going to work, guess what? It doesn't stick, because we have this little expectation there that just hangs on. Well, this is probably not going to work. And there's some biology to it too. So there is, some neurology, neural pathways involved, right? With memories and thinking on loops of thoughts. And then there's some biology as well, right? So with our biology, people don't understand, specifically with weight, we've been taught that deprivation is the way to achieve a healthy weight. Just count your calories, eat fat-free, exercise, like run, and you'll get there, right? And those are actually not true. Those are not the best tools to use. So deprivation, well, I'll tell you, you have some hormones. You have some hormones that are controlled right up here in your hypothalamus. One of those hormones is called ghrelin, and that is your hunger hormone. Your subconscious controls that. You have no say over that. So controlling ghrelin would be like trying to control your heartbeat. It's going to be very difficult, right? So you can do it temporarily, stave it off. But what ends up happening inevitably is you fail, you cave, and you eat too much, right? And then when you do that, then psychologically, there's another cycle that steps in, which is the shame cycle. So then you go on this deprivation binge cycle, but you're working against your biology. So here's a better strategy. Understand that you have ghrelin, which is your hunger hormone, and you have another hormone that's called leptin. And that's your satiety hormone. So in today's standard American diet, we're eating high carbohydrates, right? And like I said, it's being converted right into glucose. We got too much glucose going around. Then we have insulin resistance. And this sets the stage for you to needing to refuel all the time because you can't get the energy into the cell and it's fast fuel. So it's like, this is kind of a joke, but everybody always says Chinese food, right? When you eat Chinese food, man, you eat Chinese food and 15 minutes later, you're hungry again. Why is that? Because it's fast fuel. It's noodles, it's rice, it's usually heavily sugary sauces involved in it. So it creates this fast fuel. So it's like when you're starting a fire at a campfire. If you were to start it with a bunch of paper and Kleenexes and light timber, you get this huge flame. Right? But it goes out very quickly. And then you have to put more paper and more tinder on it to get the fire going again. And that's what happens when we eat processed carbohydrates and fast fuel food items. We get this big flame and then this big crash. So then we feel hungry again. So we have the ghrelin response, right? The stomach has motility, it moves, signals to the brain. Now we have a ghrelin response again. Oh, we're hungry again. We've got to eat again. So we were told through diet culture that salad and, fat-free dairy and all these foods were the way to achieve a healthy weight when it actually is the total opposite. We need dense nutrition. So going back to the fire analogy here, if you put a big log on the fire and you just put a little bit of tinder underneath it and you light it and the log catches, it burns all day, right? And so when it's burning in your stomach has motility again, so it signals to the hypothalamus, we have food in here. And then leptin is secreted that works with your GLP-1, and that tells the brain we're full. So I know that's kind of a little bit of, simplified way and a lot of science stuff there. Here it is simply put, okay? It's very easy to overeat on a bag of potato chips. They're light, they're salty, they're crispy. You can eat a whole bag of them. But it's very difficult to overeat on a stick of butter. And the reason being is because the butter triggers satiety from your brain, that leptin hormone. And so the stomach goes, whoa, this is a lot of nutrition, fat and cream, right? And so it says, don't put any more down here. And it stops moving. And then the brain stays, satiated until you need to eat again. So really what we should be eating is 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, lots of healthy fats, lots of fruits and vegetables for fiber and water and volume so that we never feel deprived. And when you eat like that, you don't fall into the fast fuel category that spikes the blood pressure, creates insulin resistance, leads to metabolic dysfunction and fatty liver. You actually have a clean burning metabolism and muscle as well, right? It fuels your muscle, which muscle is highly underrated when it comes to metabolic health, especially in women.
Yeah, I know there's so many aspects there that a lot of people who haven't been doing this for a good portion of their life, they're going to be overwhelmed. They're going to say, oh my goodness, where do I begin? I have no idea. I've been taking notes and I don't even know where to begin after this episode. And I know the work that you do. You offer people a health assessment and then you begin working with them one-on-one. And I couldn't begin to tell anyone how important that could be for their lifestyle change, their switch. Number one, you're not doing it by yourself. And number two, you're having someone who knows what someone has gone through or will go through. And then they can guide you step by step, saying you're going to feel this, it's natural, and this is what we're aiming for. So it's this lifestyle that you want. So when you are 65, you could be running around with your great grandkids, and it's all by design rather than by happenstance. And I think so many people are just wishing or hoping or longing for this luck aspect to their later years, saying, I hope, or I'm keeping an optimistic view that things are going to work my way. And I'm here to say, if you want things to work your way, then you need to work your way to that right now. So we have to give ourselves this idea of what lifestyle we want to live. Where do we want? And I'm not saying that if you want to eat a piece of pie once a month or something like that, hey, that is a lifestyle choice that you get to make. But if you have harmed your body and your body's in that insulin resistance right now, and you're having a hard time from going to the gym, you're not seeing results, you're eating the salads, you're not seeing the results, you're hopping on the scale, it's not moving, then that is a good sign that you need some assistance. And this is not to say that you have failed. And I don't want people to ever think that if they ever reach out for help that they have failed. It just means that you are seeking assistance to become better. The Olympic athletes, the coaches are helping them be those gold medalists. The basketball coaches are helping people win the finals. Baseball, whatever sport, they have coaches, and they even have coaches that are not the main head coach. They have a health coach, a nutrition coach. They have those people there to help facilitate their growth. And then again, this idea of what they want to accomplish. And most people, if I just put it real simple, they want to win at life. They want to be better. They want to be healthy to an extent. They don't want to be huffing and puffing if they go to the mailbox. They want some level of comfort. And the comfort is not so much of, I just want to be able to sit on the sofa and not do anything. It's like you want to be able to go run around with your grandkids. You want to be able to go walk with your friends in the evening around the lake. This is something that you might aspire to have in your life, and you might be afraid to even take the first step because maybe you have tried, maybe you have failed, maybe you see someone close to you that has tried it and it didn't work out for them. But just because it hasn't worked out for someone else, it doesn't mean that it couldn't or can't work out for you. So be honest with yourself right now. What do you need? What do you have to do? And are you willing to go on that journey? And if you could, Tammy, can you tell us about that journey that you will go on with someone from the health assessment and then working with them one-on-one?
Yeah. So this is a passion project of mine, and this is huge. Back in 2019, I started my podcast, Naturally Inspired, because I wanted to change the medical model. I saw friends of mine, I saw family members just blindly going on medications when I knew there were better ways. So that's why I started the podcast, because I wanted to reach more people. Even if I couldn't coach them or help them directly, maybe they would hear something on my show that they could take away and then implement into their life. So what I have done is developed a community, the Naturally Inspired community. And when you sit down with me, I do a free health assessment with you. This lets us know if this is going to work. If we're going to be the right fit for each other. I love details. So I listen. Unlike a lot of doctors, I listen. I want to hear all the details of your backstory and how you got to where you are today, because then I can begin to help you formulate a plan for your lifestyle moving forward that fits your life, because you can't do my lifestyle. You can't do Michael's lifestyle. It's got to be yours, and you've got to love it because you deserve to enjoy your life. So we sit down, we put together a plan, and then I have a health coaching line. So my health text line, which anyone can text if you have questions about this episode today. It's 720-303-8868. I coach people daily on my health text line. I send out a morning woe, which is called words of encouragement. And so you hear from me every day. The woe is intended for you to set your intention for health that day. So it's just a quick, brief text message every day. My community loves it because it's just a way to get started on the right foot. So you receive that once you're part of my community. And then my health text line is always open for you. If you have questions like, hey, I'm really sick of eggs. Can you give me another, and I've also developed a flip book for recipes that are high protein and healthy fat, which you get all these resources when you're in my community. So the very first step is to start with the health assessment, and then you get into the community. I do a Tuesday night weekly wellness workshop every Tuesday night at 7:00 Mountain Time. You can jump on live or you can listen to the archived through my website as well. So every Tuesday I do a different health topic. So sometimes we talk, like this past week was so interesting. Actually, Michael, you would have really liked it because it was about the power of your mind and neuro-linguistic programming. It was about the use of our vocabulary and how that creates patterns in our thinking and stuff. The week before that, we talked about castor oil. And all the different uses of castor oil and what kind you should get and why you should use it. And the week before that, we did a whole session on recipes. So every week it's something different, but it's another tool for you to put in your toolkit. So that's the community on Tuesday nights. And we do many other things as well. I have a 2-hour show that I do Monday through Friday. I also do interviews with doctors and whatnot. And that's what I call a part of the transformation system. And, everybody's anxious to get to the finish line, right? We're like anxious to get to the finish line. But the truth of the matter is, it's the transformation process. So where you're starting right now and the finish line, the in-between is the most important part. That is when you are transforming into the person you need to be to sustain your results. So if you're listening to this and you've done a protocol before and you did, low carb before and you did all these things, all these different weight loss things or health protocols and, they didn't work, that's because the time in between, something happened in the time in between and the transformation process didn't truly occur. So maybe you jump to the finish line instead of building it step by step along the way. So, the allopathic model, especially with weight loss right now, it's very big to use injectables to lose weight right now. I, don't need to go into the side effects of those, but you can do your own research about the side effects of those. But that is a perfect example of jumping to the finish line. You will have to stay on that drug the rest of your life unless you go through the transformation process. And the transformation process is habit after habit. It's doing the workout when you didn't want to do the workout. When you do the workout, when you don't want to do the workout, that builds a new neural pathway in your brain. That's now a new habit for you that you can do things when you don't feel like it. And as you do that over and over again, that transforms you into who you need to be to have a healthy body. And the beautiful thing about health, which I absolutely love, is that this spills over into your whole life. It spills over to your whole life because once you become the kind of person who can power through things when you don't want to do it, you can take that skill set and apply it anywhere. So you can apply it to your parenting. You can apply it to your finances. You can apply it to your business. It's a skill that you may learn through the perseverance of trying to get healthy, but that you can apply throughout your whole life. So that's why I'm so focused on health, because it's one of those things that impacts your entire life. It's the perfect place to start. If you feel like you're in a bad place in your life right now, you need to improve, start with your health because it will trickle down into everything else. It's the perfect place to start. Not only that, on these Zoom calls that we do every Tuesday night, there's quite a few people on there, quite a few people on the community, and we share. So I do a brief presentation for the first part, and then the second part is sharing. So we get to talk with each other, and there's all kinds of different walks of life on there. So they can tell you, hey, I had this experience, I had that experience. And believe it or not, we need community, especially when it comes to our health. Especially if you find yourself in a household that has a culture that isn't conducive with optimum health, you need community. It's kind of that whole philosophy of, we raise all ships together when we're working together. So community is so powerful. So that's what I do in the Naturally Inspired community. And I would invite everyone to join me there. You can get to it through my Calendly link, which I'm sure we can put in the show notes, or you can just text me today. text me, hey, I saw you on Michael's show at 720-303-8868. We can begin to have a conversation. I'll send you my link to book on my schedule, and then we'll spend some real quality time together and see how Naturally Inspired might be able to help you.
Perfect. Yes. And I'm going to make it easy for everyone. You don't have to worry about numbers or links. They're all right down below. And this is going to be a great start for so many people who are trying to get back their health, or maybe to be in the best health they can ever or have ever been in their life. I have a buddy who he basically was 300 pounds overweight. He was diabetic. He had all of these problems, and he learned about the carnivore diet. It's just, again, it's a fad diet, I know, but he basically said, wait, I can eat meat and butter and just natural foods and stay away from all the sugars and stuff, and I could lose weight. He's like, sign me up. And so he did that. He committed. He lost so much weight. You wouldn't know the difference if you looked at a picture when he was 300 pounds to where he is today. He's a gym advocate. He loves working out. He's a great guy, and he put in the work. So this is to say that anyone can put in the work. It's just, you just have to give yourself that encouragement. I can only imagine your community, how supportive they are, because people are going to be going through it, maybe in their own way, but they're going to still be collaborating together, saying, hey, let's do this. Let's become victorious. Let's reach our goals. So if you have goals, whether it be your lifestyle, dietary, or physical fitness, reach out to Tammy today. All the links again are right down below. Tammy, thank you so much for coming on, spending some time, of course, talking about your work, and then, of course, doing all the work that you do, from the radio show to the one-on-one coaching that you do.
Thank you so much, Michael. It's such a pleasure to talk to you. And I love that you're pouring light into the world and raising people up and supporting them in their journey, because it's all about quality of life, and everyone deserves to have a wonderful quality of life. So thank you so much for having me on today.